Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of imagination, your sommelier of sci-fi and cinema, your archbishop of the imagination, and of course, well, evangelist of the imagination too, and your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, that's me. This is a Robservations addendum. Just a quick thought. I have to tell you. So, I feel like I've been assailed. I've suffered the slings and arrows, not quite the tortures of the damned. But I will say this. I, I've been thinking a lot about the great Tony Montana. Whether you think he's great or not, you know, he's got his word and his balls, and he doesn't break them for nobody. Well, I kind of feel the same way. I've been accused of being a paid shill, which, by the way, is weird because what studio has the paid shill thing going on? I don't know. Here's the thing. I've been doing this now. I've been on YouTube since April of 2015. The very first time I was ever on YouTube. I was on AMC Heroes, invited by the late, great John Schnepp. And the first time I ever streamed was with John Schnepp and John Campea, who I did not know. I had never met John, and I was honored to stream with him. And here's the thing. I would hope you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community, know one thing about me. Whether you like me, whether you don't like me, whether you approve of me, whether you agree with me, don't care. What I do care about is discourse. Having a conversation. You imagination connoisseurs, you people who watch me and me, we talk, we converse, we share ideas. And I feel that our civilization, especially the online discourse, fan communities. I grew up in a world. I've spent my life in fandom. Unfortunately, a lot longer than most of the people I discourse with have been alive, which is fine. But one of the great things about fandom that I used to love, that I've always loved, is we're all fans. The whole point is we love science fiction, fantasy, horror. We love lore. We love books, we love movies, we love RPGs, video games, TV shows, whatever it is. We love flights of fancy. And the reason we love them is because they give our mundane, our lives of quiet desperation, meaning. Imagination. What humanity conjures up out of nothing gives us all hope, dreams, imagination, whatever it brings to you. I would never say what does it all mean to you? What it means though overall is it brings us a certain joie de vivre, a certain reason for living, other human beings' imaginative pursuits, and our consumership of those imaginative pursuits gives our lives meaning. I've always thought you have to give back. So what I've tried to do in my own life is to celebrate all of the people that have given me so much through their imaginative pursuits, whether it was novels, whether it was movies, whether it was TV shows, whether it was anything. Now we live in a place where there is so much division and anger. And I would say that is antithetical to imagination or imaginative pursuits. And here's the thing. Sci-fi, fantasy, and horror fans, we are the great debaters. We will sit in a room or talk to somebody at a bar and explain why we don't believe the way warp drive was portrayed in this episode of Star Trek Picard is the correct way. And we will argue passionately about something that doesn't exist for 8 hours at a time. And I'm like, God bless you all. That's the way it should be. I am, after all, the viceroy of verisimilitude. I am the person that wants to believe. But more than that, What I do think is most important of all is that we, all of us, are all fans. We share a love of science fiction, fantasy, and horror. We share a love of imaginative pursuits. We're the people that sit on the beach as the sun is sliding down below the horizon, and we look out and we imagine what could happen, what might happen, what should happen. We're the people that look to the future and say yes. We don't say no. That's what we are. And I have to tell you, I am getting a little annoyed with our community. Where's our celebratory nature? Where is the fact that we're the ones that imagine a better life, a better place, a better future? And by the way, I'm guilty too. I don't like wallowing in the muck. Look, I'm right here. Look at my face. I am Robert Meyer Burnett, RMB, and I am here looking right into the camera. I'm not hiding. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not. And I say to all of you, I am here to speak to you, not for you. You have to speak for yourselves. But what I will provide is an environment. That's what the Post-Geek singularity is. It is a place where everybody is welcome. You share your thoughts unfettered, unrestrained. You can come here and say whatever you want. I don't care what color, shape, size, creed, sexuality, gender. I don't give a fuck how you identify. Because to me, you're a human being. And all human beings are welcome right here. You share your thoughts. You tell us what you're all about. You get no judgment. Unless if what you present's bullshit. We will call you on it. What I want is honesty. I want openness. I want you people to tell me the goddamn truth. That's what I want. That's what this channel, that's what the Burnettwork, and that's what the Post-Geek Singularity community, that's what imagination connoisseurs are all about. Tell me the truth. Unfettered, unrefined, unrestrained, call it what you want. I want you all to come to this channel. Tell me the truth. This is a place where we open up. Tell me what you want to tell me. There is no judgment here. Unless, of course, you're dishonest. Then we will judge. I want you to tell me the truth. Come here. Come to this channel. Like, subscribe. As people know, I have member calls on this channel. If you're a member, we have one on Saturday. Last one was like 7 hours long. I will stay here. Put up your hand. Tell me what you want. But my God, I am so sick to death of people branding me, calling me things. I'm an open book. I am here. And by the way, if you want to take me to task, if you don't believe me or you want to have a conversation with me, just write me, DM me, slide into my DMs, ask to come on this channel. We will do a show. I will speak to anyone. You want to accuse me of something or you want to celebrate something, whatever you want to do, come on this channel. I am so tired of all the cowards out there calling me things, branding me things. And then I say, hey, if that's true, come on the show. If you don't have the courage of your conviction, fuck off. Shut the fuck up. But if you do, if you want to be honest and you want to have a great conversation, you are all welcome on this channel whenever you want. I will have you here. I will give you an audience. I will give you honesty. And more importantly, I will give you a forum and I will shut the fuck up and allow you to say what you want to say. Now, I would like to have an opportunity to speak again, answer your questions, but this is a place of open honesty. And I want everyone out there, all fans everywhere, to know that this channel, this YouTube channel, is a place that I invite everyone, I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care what your favorite franchise is. This channel is for you, all of you, you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity. You can come here and state your case, speak your piece, speak your truth. We will listen, and we will offer you an open and honest forum. I promise you. If you hate my guts, come on, we'll talk about it. If you don't, you want to celebrate me, fine. I'm here to celebrate you. You imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community. That I promise you. That's all I want to say. Because today, heard a lot of things. I just want you all to know that I am a huge fan of all of you. And I'm a huge fan of how all of you have made this channel very popular, very successful. And it's all about this community. And the thing is, without you, without your honesty, without your openness, we have nothing. This is a place where you can come speak and tell me what you want to say. And on that note, there is somebody did send in a super chat. Alex Ariano Luna says, "What do you think of Shazam 2?" I thought it was great. I really liked it. I mean, it didn't deserve. It should have been much bigger than it was. I thought it was a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really well made. I love the Marvel family. It was terrific. But you know what? I think I've said my piece. This was just a quick little video. I wanted to come on here late night. I'm going to bed. But I've been annoyed today. I've been annoyed by the exchanges I've had. I've been annoyed about the fact that if someone doesn't like something, that's fine. But you know what? Just figure that shit out. Happy Console Gamer. Oh my God, I love you, man. Hey, Rob, sorry if I missed it. Are you still on John Campea? You are the only reason I watch. Future plans? Well, my relationship with John's still the same. We still love each other and all that. I have taken a back seat, and I will be appearing very sporadically on the show, but I'm no longer a regular on his channel. However, as I said, I've been streaming with John Campea for 8 years. And in April, next month, it'll be 8 years that I've streamed with him. It's the 8-year anniversary of my AMC Heroes episode 6. That was my first time I was ever on YouTube. So that's the deal, man. So here's the thing. This is a channel for you imagination connoisseurs, you people that love science fiction, fantasy, horror, movies, television, video games. This is the place to come. And this is the place to come to share what it is we all love, which is flights of fancy. We love imagination, whether it's designing Hollywood, whether it's, by the way, we have a very cool show coming called Architects of Imagination, who I've been texting with the gentleman that's going to bring that to you. You've seen the promo. You'll see more of it soon. April 15th. The show's already scheduled Saturday, April 15th at 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Already scheduled, already locked and loaded. Watch that. DJ, you'll come to know him. You'll come to love him. And before that show drops, we will have another show where you meet him. There's all kinds of greatness that's coming on this channel. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, it's about you. I am tired of the divisions. I am tired of everybody. Why are we angry? We have more great stuff than we've ever had before in our lifetimes. We have more movies, more television. And by the way, I got a package today from Kino Lorber, 12 Angry Men in 4K. I'm like, oh my God, fantastic. We have a lot to celebrate, kids. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gentle beings, kind souls, however you identify across these 28 known galaxies, as they said in Superman the movie. We're living in wonderful times. Yeah, the world's a chaotic, crazy place, but when has it not been? What we have is this community, this fan community. You imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community, things have never been better. People keep sending me in super chats. RRTNZ says, live long and prosper, Rob. Well, thank you. All the way down into New Zealand. My God. Our own Designing Hollywood sent in a super chat. Well, thank you. By the way, a new Designing Hollywood dropped today. Daniel Orlandi, the costume designer of Logan or Ford v Ferrari or the upcoming Borderlands, yes, I love that guy. I ran into him at the Smokehouse a couple weeks ago, and it was so funny because he was like speaking with people, and of course, to be honest, I was a little lit. I'm like, oh, Daniel, what's up? He's like, of course you're here. He's the best. We have another Paco Delgado, the costume designer for John Wick 4. All the way, he grew up on the Canary Islands. He will be dropping this week on Friday. We got great shows coming up. Pretty amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to get this off my chest. Let's build a community. Let's have some fun. Let's celebrate. Or the wake of WonderCon. I'm still feeling. I was on 2 panels at WonderCon this weekend, and I have to give a shout out to Michael Herman, 101 years old. My Uncle Herman, he and his wife Barbara, my Aunt Barbara, they were the ones that fueled my interest. And I hate to say this, but my Aunt Barbara, I used to con her into buying me horror novels that were entirely inappropriate for an 11-year-old. And Uncle Herman and Aunt Barbara always made sure that I had those books. So Aunt Barbara passed away last year. Shout out to Uncle Herman. But anyway, wow, people keep sending me stuff. Like Ace Hanlon says, love your work, Robert. I'm new to Star Trek. Well, okay, I'm going to announce something right now. There's going to be a new show on this channel. It's going to be called RMB's 10 in 20. 10, T-E-N, in 20, the number 20. A lot of people have asked me the question, Rob, there's so much Star Trek. Where do I begin? Where do I begin? Well, that's a good question. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Star Trek, and I'm going to give you 10 episodes from every season of Star Trek you should watch. It's not going to be all-encompassing. It's going to be a primer. So if you want to dive into Star Trek, but you don't want to watch 800, 900 episodes of Star Trek, I'm going to tell you which 10 episodes every season of Trek you should watch, beginning with TOS, the first season. So you watch these 10 episodes, it'll get you up to speed. It'll give you a Cliff's Notes version of Star Trek. But through my eyes, I'm going to tell you what you need to watch, what you should watch. And by the way, you got to listen to your Uncle Bobby, because I know one of the best. Couch Entertainments became a member. Well, Couch Entertainments, if you become a member of this channel, this Saturday, beginning at 11 a.m., we have what's called our member chats. And so anyone who's a member of the channel, exclusive to members on every level, I'm here, and you can put your hand up, and I will talk to anybody. Everyone gets 7 minutes. You can say what you want to me. And the last time I did it a couple weeks ago, it was 7 hours long. So it's worth it. And there's going to be more member-only programming. So if you're into it, hey. Maria Espino. I love Maria Espino. Rob, you definitely need to let me come and talk about video game storytelling. I've been doing that for almost 30 years. I also have a great live show idea to run by you, waiting on email. Have you sent me an email? I'll look at it. Yes. Let's do that. Why not? Let's do it. I'm in. Jessica Tennis says Patrick Stewart still looked 60 in Excalibur. Okay, for those of you who don't know, so Patrick Stewart, who was Sejanus in the BBC's I, Claudius in the 70s that I love, was in with Liam Neeson in Excalibur. And Excalibur, John Borman's Excalibur, came out in 1981. I kid you not. REG became a new member of the channel. This is amazing. You know what? This is just some weird impromptu stream. I was doing right before I was going to go to bed early tonight. And I'm like, you know what? I was just annoyed. I was annoyed. By the way, people have sent in tips. For those of you who don't know, you can send in super chats or tips. It's in the description. Anonymous sends in a tip and says, Rob, I love you and your passion. Season 3 of Picard has restored my love of Star Trek. Thank you for praising the show. I've heard rumors of contract negotiations for Metallis Trek. Any news? All that, let me say right now, all of that is BS. It's all bunk. There's no contract negotiations at all. Alex Kurtzman's contract was extended to 2026 for 3 more years. That's like an eternity in TV years. There are no contract negotiations. There is nothing that Terry Matalas is doing for New Trek. I will say this. I think that he has made one banger, and if you watch the Kurlan Naskos, however you want to say it. I say Naskos. The Kurlan Neskos. That's what our Picard after show is. We did our, 8th episode? No, 7th episode yesterday. It is our Picard after show. People are like, well, Rob. Look, if you think I'm a shill, watch the episodes of our Picard after show. They are very in-depth. Yesterday's episode, which was postponed because I had my internet connection sheared off by a palm frond, Christopher Monfett, who is the writer of episode 6, The Bounty, also a co-EP of the show, was on my show last night. And we are going to have another after show on Thursday for episode 7, 8, 9, and 10. So you can watch that. So there you go. So did Patrick Stewart look that way? Probably. Yeah. 6 Scale Mafia says must watch all Star Trek except, well, let me tell you about 6 Scale Mafia. 6 Scale Mafia he's involved with XO6. He works for XO6. He makes incredible videos. He does incredible YouTube videos, and he has a great collection. Really love that guy, and he's my dealer. He's my pusher. He's the Tony Montana of Star Trek figures for me. I'll leave you to figure out what that means. REG became a member of the channel. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Remember, this Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Video Hunter D says, let's keep Rob awake all nights with Super Chat. Do we have to? We could. I don't know. Groovy Don't Play has been a member for 10 months. Mashby has been a member for 2 months. Thank you, Mashby. I appreciate you being a member. Joe sends in a tip and says, hey, Rob, I just want to say hi. Miss you on John's show. Do you plan on making Robservations a more common thing? Cheers, man. Yes. You're going to start seeing Robservations every day. There's going to be Robservations every day. Faux show. That is true. Hitchcock is the GOAT. By the way, can you believe, why is Robert Downey Jr. going to be in a Vertigo remake? Why would you remake Vertigo? Why not make something new? I don't know. Hitchcock is the GOAT says, Vertigo is my all-time favorite film. And if this remake happens, I'm praying to the film gods that it's David Fincher, Seven, Zodiac, and Gone Girl. Prove to me he's the best of the modern directors to do a Hitchcock remake, but still make it his own. You know what? I'm a huge David Fincher fan, and you pointed out great. You're absolutely right. I have no idea why they would remake Vertigo. I have no idea. It's insane to me why they would do that. I don't know why they would do it. What can I say? S-Beam. I was on S-Beam show yesterday. S-Beam says, by the way, he's making a 6 scale figure of me. It's amazing. S-Beam says 29 months. He's been a member for 29 months. Love the Post-Geek Singularity. I met people I consider good friends here. Shout out to Alex and Michael Elliott. I would hope that would be Alex Montano and Michael Elliott. Now, both of these guys I love. Michael Elliott was a guy that I only met when I was doing Midnight Musings or Midnight Metal. like at 4 a.m, and he would come on the channel. He's got a great action figure collection, great guy. And of course, Alex Montano is one half of the Que Pasa BGS. For those of you who don't know, we do an all Spanish show every other week, bi-monthly, called Que Pasa BGS, and it's a really great show. Roberto Suarez and Alex Montano, or as I like to say, Alex Montano, even though I don't think that's right. It's Alex Montano and Roberto Suarez, do Que Pasa BGS, and it's a great show, and it's an all Spanish show that we do here. Speaking of all Spanish, Paulie from the Latino Slant. By the way, if you guys don't subscribe, here's one of the things, one of the most unsung YouTube channels for a certain reason is Paulie, the Latino Slant. Go to the Latino Slant, subscribe to his channel. But here's what's really great about his channel. He focuses a lot on, what Latino music, Chicano music, Latin music, call it what you want. But he has a focus on showcasing live Latin groups, people he knows, people he has actually interacted with. His taste in live Latino music, chef's kiss. I mean, whenever he puts on something, a piece of music, it fucking rocks. It's really, really great. And I honestly think that I would love to see, I don't know if you can make a Spotify playlist, or I'm sure the rights are a nightmare, but the Latino Slant does a phenomenal job. Paulie does a phenomenal job of focusing on great local live music. He has really impeccable taste. And if for no other reason, subscribe to his channel just to see what he's going to play on his shows, because it's fucking dope. Totally dope. Carnal says, oh, my carnal, la onda. Vacos Lotus forever. Vacos Lotus forever. By Carnal. Rob, can we get a little of that midnight metal? Fuck yeah, you can. Fuck yeah, dude. Fucking metal. Fuck yeah. For those of you who have never watched Midnight Metal, you might wonder what that was all about. But yeah, if you go back into the history of the channel, fucking metal. This is so fucking metal. Ah! I know I have to look at my... Now I have to look at my microphone and be like, okay, my input and output, they're pretty good. So I didn't mess it up. There you go. By the way, I'm adding more lights. There's color. I'm turning into like a 12-year-old girl YouTuber. Hi, everybody. No, it's fine. I don't want to get all gender specific. Latino Slant says, let's panel again, homeboy. Oh, yes, Homeboy Industries. I will panel with you every day. Cash Kester has been a member for 22 months. Thank you, Cash. James Wallace says, love the tweet challenging Doomcock. Well, here's the thing. Part of what, to be honest, I'll flat out say I have loved Doomcock's content. I've watched him for a long time. Here's the thing. I don't care if you're a sports fan and you have supported a team for 40 years and they've sucked, and then on their 41st year, they're great. You celebrate that greatness. What I don't like is working in the entertainment business. It is so difficult to make television, movies, video games, whatever creative endeavor, even to get something greenlit and to get the money to make it is a Sisyphean task. Sisyphean? Just still pushing stuff up the hill. I don't know. So when Terry Matalas comes in, and I was as surprised as anyone else to love Star Trek Picard Season 3 as much as I do. I think greatness or quality is self-evident. We now live in a world where we would rather pick a side than watch something. That was good. I think that's wrong, and I appreciate what Doomcock does. But here's the thing: what I do not appreciate, he's called me out. He's questioned my integrity, all kinds of things, and I'm like, bro, I am here to tell you, I'm never going to tell you something unless I believe it to be true. If I'm giving you my opinion, it's because I believe it. It's not because someone paid me. It's not because the myth of Access Media is there. I'm not part of Access Media. I'm on no one's press list. Nobody sends me things. Nobody makes me. I mean, as a matter of fact, because the Axonar lawsuit and all that, I'm persona non grata, probably. I am not Access Media. I was as surprised to you, or surprised as you might be, to have loved Picard Season 3 as much as I did. But I loved it. From the bottom of my heart. I've had emotional reactions to many of the episodes. And I think the next 4 are bangers. And you know why? Because I like them because they're well done. And you know what? You might not believe that the same way that I do. But when I tell you that, you can take it to the bank. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not hiding behind special effects. When I'm on YouTube talking to you, you can take it to the bank. Might be overdrawn, but you can take it to the bank that what I'm saying to you is what I believe. My opinion cannot be bought. Although, I mean, only because no one's tried. What can I say? And it depends how much you're going to spend, to be honest. Jason Love sends in a super chat and says, I just woke up having a cup of coffee, listening to you before the day starts, looking forward to more Robservations. Skeleton Report says, Robservations every day, I'll hold you to it. Wow, thank you. I appreciate that. Hitchcock is the GOAT is just a new member of the channel. My God, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate that. Couch Entertainments. I had many couch entertainments with many lovely nubile girls, but usually between my junior high school and high school career. It's gotten less and less as I've gotten older, but I appreciate what couch entertainments mean. By the way, remember, all of you people, if you ever get to have a couch entertainment, and remember, ladies first, get those cheeks wet and make sure you know what you're doing before you go any further. Just saying. So Couch Entertainment says, I am with you. I am tired of the division. We are all nerds. The only thing we should be arguing about is nerd stuff. Looks like I found the right place. Well, Couch Entertainment, I think you have. Well, that's what I would. We are living in a golden age of nerddom. And while I do agree that there is a lot of terrible writing that is being defined by political agendas, look, as I have always said, the Rob Burnett codicil, the Rob Burnett axiom, call it what you want. Never put your universe or your political ideology in front of great characters and great stories. That's what people want to do now. And by the way, that's incredibly narcissistic. Everybody wants to put their... I have to put the way I feel it. I have to imbue every story I write. No. Great stories are universal. Great stories speak to everyone, despite your political ideology, whatever your shape, size, colors, color creed. And I'll tell you, you want to look back at the great... If you want to learn about storytelling, go back to the Twilight Zone. I'm talking about the original Twilight Zone. There are 5 seasons. It was done between 1959 and 1964. 4 of those seasons were half an hour long. The 4th season, not very many great episodes, were an hour long. The Twilight Zone, every person who wants to write a story, whether it's a comic book, a screenplay, a TV show, a short story, the Twilight Zone, the original, I think it's 157 episodes, the greatest repository of writing knowledge you will ever find. Because a lot of the people, whether it's Charles Beaumont, whether it's Richard Matheson, Rod Serling himself, George Clayton Johnson, the people that wrote for the original Twilight Zone were some of the great fantasists of the time. And they were novelists. They were short story writers. They were playwrights. They were magazine and newspaper writers. They were real writers. They didn't just grow up watching TV and become TV writers and never live. A lot of them were war veterans. The people that wrote the Twilight Zone are some of the greatest writers who ever lived. It is the place to go. You want to learn how to write a story? Characters and situations set up with a 3-act structure in 25 minutes. If you want to learn how to write, watch The Twilight Zone. and not just not Talking Tina or Time Enough at Last. Watch like any great TV series is not as great as its top 10 episodes. Those are the ones everyone talks about. And that's what I cannot stand about people that write modern Star Trek. They haven't watched shit. They look at a BuzzFeed article and they're like, well, top 10 episodes of Star Trek, which is why their writing is so shitty. Because what tells you what a really great TV show is not the top 10 episodes. It's the meat and potatoes episodes that sustain the show beyond those watershed moments. So anyway, some old guy in Hawaii says, he says, while a $20 super chat, thank you so much. While I may disagree with you on the quality of season 3, I do not doubt for a second your enthusiasm for it, and I'm happy it gives you so much pleasure. It does. And I would be interested. Here's what I want to know. I have people throw out nitpicks of me, but I'll tell you why I love Star Trek Picard season 3 so much. I'll give you one example. At the beginning of season 4, Picard and Riker, the beginning of episode 4 of season 3, Picard and Riker are having a conversation, and Riker says, after he's yelled at Picard in the previous episode, he explains that when his son Thad was being lowered into the grave, his young child, a parent losing a kid, and in watching this, he lost hope. He lost faith in the universe. Here's a man who's traveled around the galaxy, seen the wonders of the cosmos. And he explains to Picard, he says, listen, I've seen nothing in all of our travels that leads me to believe that my son has gone somewhere else, that I will go somewhere else, that we all, when it's over, it's over. The vast cosmic infinitude of the universe is done. We are done. And at the end of that episode, when he talks to Deanna, the way they shoot it, you think he's recording it, and then you realize he's got her live, he's like we are now. And he says, I witnessed a birth. He found, he city slickered it. He found his smile. More than that, I'm joking. What he found was the profundity of our cosmos, of our universe, how much it means. And to me, that's Star Trek in a nutshell. And why people don't get that, I know it's not what people maybe are looking for, but it really hit me home. And I thought it was great. And I think that a lot of Star Trek Picard season 3 is pretty terrific. I love the whole thing. Tom Jr. Jackson, our moderator, just gives me a thumbs up super sticker. Swag Prop says, so far, our friend Cal, the man who makes the magic. Cal, Swag Props, go to his Etsy store, Swag S''WAK Props. Go to his Etsy store, check it out. He's got some amazing stuff. His work is top notch, 100%. And if you want to get somebody a cool gift, get his map of the Misty Mountains. That actually you can see the runes in black light. I don't know how he does it. It's amazing. Swag Prop says, so far Picard season 3 has been great, though not perfect. Is there anything in the first 6 episodes that didn't quite jive with you, Rob? No, there's a few things. I mean, to be honest, Metalis Prime. I would like to see it a little bit more defined. It felt very small, like everyone's hanging out. It's a planet, but it also feeds back. Here's one of the things about Star Trek that goes all the way back to 1966. The Enterprise would roll up to a planet, and one city encompasses the entire civilization, which is kind of silly. But this is a Star Trek conceit. Like, it'd be like, imagine in our world, imagine if there was a United Federation of planets and we were the alien planet, and the Enterprise shows up and beams down to Istanbul, or goes to the capital of Turkey, and you talk to the president. Like, everything that happens in Turkey is going to be representative of our entire planet. Well, on an hour-long TV show in the 60s, it had to be that way. But it's always bothered me that that's a Star Trek conceit. I get it. It seems a little silly. I understand. They had to condense an entire planetary culture in like a few rooms. But that's Star Trek. I'll buy off on it. Willa Pan says, and that's why Rob is a real one. Mic drop. Well, I can't drop this because it's on a... Although I can bring another microphone down and go, one day I'm going to launch this Shure microphone. People are crazy. They're like, you have a $499 or $400 microphone and you're not using it? I know, I have two one day because I just want to be like, yeah. Anyway, so Will Uphan says, and that's why Rob is the real one. Mic drop. Well, thanks for that. I appreciate that. 200 Watt Studio says, you're up late. Well, it's only 10:45. I didn't even expect to do this. I was goaded into it. But so it's not that late. I'm gonna go to bed. I got work to do. 6 Scale Mafia, my man. No one has ever tried to buy your opinion. Whole Wrath of Concept, perhaps. May I remind you of the 98th rule of acquisition? Every man has its price. I think we can call it a bribe. Cork. Well, look, I'm not saying I'm beyond bribing, but here's the thing: my opinion or but here's it doesn't matter how much money you give me. I'll never be able to. I couldn't help myself. I would look, science fiction, fantasy, horror, genre entertainment, books, movies, video games. They mean too much to me. I could never not tell you the truth. But here's the difference. All of my opinions come out of an overall love for the genre. You know, there's nothing I'm going to hate. I mean, I find corporate IP disappointing because corporations don't know what makes something good. The people that own IPs, and there's nobody, you know, people blame Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars and all this. The problem is anybody, a guy like J.J. Abrams, who I would call a fraudulent creator, although I will say J.J. Abrams, shout out, finally have coming Phantasm in 4K. But he's made 5 science fiction films that I think are terrible. Star Trek 09, Star Trek Into Darkness, Super 8, Star Wars The Force Awakens, and Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I mean, J.J. Abrams is the only man who's ever worked in franchise entertainment and made Force Awakens that made $2 billion and made Rise of Skywalker that made $1 billion. The man lost $1 billion in his own franchise that he rebooted. $1 billion. His first film, $2 billion, $1 billion. I mean, has there been anyone in Hollywood history? And I don't begrudge him. I just have never seen a feature film of his that I thought was worth its salt. And he's the only filmmaker that lost $1 billion between both. And I know Rise of Skywalker is $1.3 billion. Remember, Rise of Skywalker only went down $700 million, but J.J. Abrams went down a full $1 billion. So there you go, 6 Scale Mafia. No one can buy my opinion. 200 Watt Studio says, reading Avatar 1 and 2. First time Ro and Picard meet. Reading Avatar 1 and 2. Those are the Deep Space Nine novels. First time Ro and Picard meet since she left for the Maquis. Also, a changeling plot ensues. Yeah, I mean, I will say this. Modern Star Trek is drawing a lot on Star Trek novels. There's a lot of, but on the other hand, there's also people that are writing for modern Star Trek that haven't read Star Trek novels, but there's certain ways and positions and things that they go in. In Strange New Worlds, they actively ripped off both Dorothy Fontana and Ursula K. Le Guin. Those who walk away from Umlaus, they ripped it off shamelessly, and she should have had story credit. And number one, Rebecca Romaine's Una's backstory, totally stolen from Dorothy Fontana's novel Vulcan's Glory. Dorothy Fontana, the woman who actually defined Vulcans, they stole from her. And it's already owned by CBS. No, man. The Writers Guild of America. You know what the Writers Guild of America should do? The Writers Guild of America, as they have their contract negotiations, I would ask them to carve out something that does not allow Star Trek, modern Star Trek writers, not the writers of Picard, but the writers of, say, Strange New Worlds, to stop stealing uncredited work. Well, they steal from other writers and don't credit their work. I would say there should be a special watchdog organization that looks over Star Trek Strange New Worlds, maybe not so much Lower Decks and Prodigy, but specifically Strange New Worlds. They stole from two great, and of all people, female science fiction writers. You know, no one's bitching and moaning and complaining about that. Steal from the old ladies. It's okay. Those old white, not necessarily cis, but those old ladies, you can steal from them, right? Where's the outrage? Where's the marching? Where's the people marching going, you stole from Dorothy Fontana, you stole from Ursula K. Le Guin? I would say that's something to be mad about. That's something to legitimately be angry about. Don't yell and scream about the quality of something necessarily. Scream about the fraudulent creation, the stealing of uncredited female writers. That's what I'd get mad about. Oh, wait, what? Mashby says, I'm enjoying Picard Season 3. I anticipate every episode. My husband is enjoying the show and never knew he watched TNG. We are truly meant to be here and another galaxy. I look forward to your daily show. Mashby, you and your husband, I love this. I love hearing this from you. You did. So from what I take from what you wrote, that you didn't know your husband was a TNG fan. I love this. I love that you can bond. By the way, this might be a time to take a break and go, if you have physical media, I did spend 3 years of my life creating documentaries for both The Next Generation and Enterprise. I am very proud of the work we did. So not only on just the full series box set, but there are 5 separate discs where they took the 2-part episodes beginning with Best of Both Worlds in Season 3. So there's Best of Both Worlds, there's Redemption, Unification, Chain of Command, and All Good Things. And they were released as single disc only versions because the 2-part episodes were individual episodes in the season. And originally they aired as one thing, but there were 5 separate Blu-rays, and we also did documentaries with deleted scenes and commentaries. So I spent 3 years of my life making those documentaries. I'm very proud of them. You and your husband, check them out. I know physical media people are like, well, Rob, putting a disc in a machine is so 20th century. I know. Hitchcock is the GOAT. Says Dungeons and Dragons had no business being that great. Very fun. Much better than Ant-Man 3 or even Shazam, which I also liked. John Wick 4 on Friday. Hitchcock is the GOAT. You know what? I read an article in The Atlantic. When I say I read an article in The Atlantic, I'm not saying you have to, whether it's left wing, right wing, I read a lot of things. I try and read things across the gamut because I learn from everyone. To not listen to other voices is dumb. So whatever you think about The Atlantic, I'm only saying this because there's a really interesting article. And I want to say the title was something to the effect of that Dungeons and Dragons is a blockbuster that's not embarrassed for what it is, or something like that. And everyone loves this movie because it wears its heart on its sleeve, and it is what it is supposed to be, and people love it, and I think it's great. George, the Giant Slayer, with a $50 super chat. Oh my God, George, you're the man. George, you didn't have to do that. That's very nice. George says, by the way, he's got a good collection of toys too, and we're going to stream you, me, and Az. George says, hi, Robert. I'm curious. Since the change, images are the key protagonists so far. You mean the changelings? Does that mean Odo, after he went to the Great Link, turned his back on a single-formed being? Just a thought. All hail, my friend. I love your show. Okay. I'm going to answer this question. You're going to find out a couple days. So, one of the things I love about Picard Season 3 and what Star Trek does best is allegorical. Within its science fiction, fantasy, action, adventure show, it deals with real-world issues through allegory. the faction of changelings, and they've alluded to this already, so I can say it. The faction of changelings led by Vatic are not part of the Great Link. They are a radicalized group of changelings. And the reason they become radicalized was how they were treated by us. And what's really interesting is if and this is I don't mean to get political here, but there's a lot of people in the Middle East that have beef with the United States because we've gone in, we've toppled regimes, we've gone into that part of the world and meddled. And we've done things that aren't necessarily what we wanted to be doing or what we deserve to be doing or what we should have been doing. But let's just say the writers of Picard Season 3 have a very good reason. And I was like, wow, man. And you get a taste of it in episode 6 when Worf is giving a briefing. And he says there's shame on both sides. That comes into play further down the line. And I think really in a great way. I think they did a great job. I really do. That English gent says, I've been meaning to watch Picard Season 3, especially due to that ship museum, so maybe it's redeemable as an isolated season. No matter how heated things get on Twitter, my respect for you will remain, sir. Well, thank you. Look, here's the thing. I don't want to fight with people. Doomcock's a fan. He loves science fiction, fantasy, and horror. But what I don't like is the look. I've been going to science fiction conventions since I was like 10 years old. It's always been contentious. Fandom has always been screaming and yelling at each other. We do that all the time. But the thing is, now it's become so tribal, where before it was like we all agreed, like, okay, we're yelling and screaming, let's go get a drink. You'd go to the hotel bar where the convention was at, and you'd sit down and you continue your ridiculous conversation about warp drives or, shields or whatever the hell you were talking about. It was all in good fun. Now the vitriol and the anger, it's not as cool. It's not good, and I don't like it. I mean, I don't feel good about the vitriol. I don't feel good about any of that stuff. Why are we angry at each other? We all love the same shit. Shouldn't we all be on the same side? I mean, shouldn't we? I don't know. I mean, our mutual love of all this stuff should be what binds us, what surrounds us, or whatever. What can I say? Shellcrow sends in a tip and says, if we get a physical 4K release of Picard Season 3, I would love to have you do behind-the-scenes bonus features. Your Enterprise interviews were fantastic. Well, I thank you for that. It's way too late for me to be involved. I know they already had, I didn't know Terry Metalis when he was making the show, so it would have been nice. And plus, because I was involved with Axanar, I'm kind of persona non grata. John Van Sitters, who I have the best respect for, who runs the brand, probably wouldn't be able to be hired to do that, but Roger Lay Jr. and I didn't even get to work on the Roddenberry Vault or the Twilight Zone special features, which kind of killed me. That was a bummer. Anthony Gonzalez, my man Anthony, says, if you leave off the Magnificent Ferengi, well, to me, that's just fighting words, bruh. Happy Taco Tuesday. I would never leave off the Magnificent Ferengi, Mr. Gonzalez. Never. Look, I'm a big Deep Space Nine fan. Come on now. I love it. Some old guy in Hollywood says, sent a 4,000-word essay on my issues through episode 5. If you are interested, did you send them to me directly? By the way, if you want to send me an email directly, put in the subject matter, Robservations, and then thing, you can send me, I read letters on the show. My email address is rmburnett1701 at gmail.com. Send me, don't send me your scripts. I can't read your scripts. But send me your emails and say Robservations and then give me a title and then send me what you want to send me and I'll read it on the show. Brian Osborne sends in a super chat and says, do residuals pay better for original screenplays? Ooh, I'm surprised studios don't lean on filmmakers to adapt their extended universe books. Oh, Brian, my man. Where to begin? No. So residuals. So here's how it works, and it's a long story. But if you've written say you've written an original screenplay, totally original, and you sell it, it's what's called a spec. It's speculative on speculation. You wrote your own script, not based on anything else. Studio hasn't bought it. I have read in my lifetime. I was a professional script reader for years, and I read over 3,000 scripts professionally. And normally, you have to do what's called coverage. And wherever you work, whether it's for an agency or a production company, coverage is what is written so the executives, they don't have enough time to read all the scripts, so they get a piece of coverage that is created by me. I used to be called a reader. Now we're called story analysts. So what happens is the story analyst is given the script to read. And what you have to do is, it's like a book report, and you synopsize it, and you usually write, I mean, my synopsis were pretty in depth, but they only last a page. Imagine it might take you 6 months to write a screenplay. What happens is it goes to a production company, and some low-level schmuck reads it, and they write a page-long synopsis of your script. And then the next page is comments. Like, is this good? You critique it. And you basically give it a yes, no, or yes, maybe, or recommend. That's it. You're not supposed to say yes. I said yes. I read over 3,000 screenplays professionally. I said yes to one. That was Andy Kevin Walker's script to 7 that nobody had ever read. And there was an agent who is now a producer named Gavin Pallone. And when he was at an agency, this is 30 years ago, Bauer Benedict, before it became part of UTA, every script that came from Gavin Pallone's office was good. It was good to great. I don't know if you'd want to make it, but it was good to great. And I would ask, I said, whatever Gavin Pallone sends over, and this is when I was working for Joel Silver, before I produced The Hills Run Red for him. When I was reading scripts, I said, I want to read everything that comes in from Gavin Pallone's office, because it was all good. And Andy Kevin Walker, who wrote 7, he was a clerk at Tower Records in New York City. And that was the first script I ever read where I was like, it was the first time I ever read a script. I finished it and read it again. And fucking incredible. And from the time I said yes to it, it's a long story. I tried to get my boss to read it. I ended up, should have read it. It wasn't made for 5 years, but it got made. I read it in 1989, 90. Incredible. But so the answer to your question is, so what happens is when somebody writes a script like that, an original script, you have to, if someone wants to acquire it, the process is this. They'll first do what's called option. They'll option a script. If you already have representation, what you do is you pay money to tie up the script. You option it to later buy the rights to it if you can get the money to make the movie. So on a decent script, I mean, a lot of the time nowadays, if you're making a low-budget movie, when you option a script, maybe you option it for $100 or $1 or $99 or whatever, or $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000. You pay some money to option the script, and the purchase price of a screenplay is usually, let's call it 2.5 times 2.5% of the budget of the movie itself. So let's say you're making the movie for $1 million, right? 2.5% would be, what is that? What is 2.5% of $1 million? It's late night. I can't think of it. Is that $25,000? 2.5%, 10% of $1 million is $100,000. So 2.5% is $50,000 would be 5%. Yeah. So it'd be like $25,000. So that's what so $1 million movie, the script would cost $25,000. If I'm getting it right, is that correct? So I think that's correct. So it's $25,000. That's what I know. and you might have spent 5 years writing it, but if you're making the movie for $1 million, you have to spend the script can't cost more money, and so think about it, the directing fees or whatever, and all you only have $1 million to make the movie. But here's the thing. So a residual, I mean, look, on $1 million movie, it's probably not WGA, but let's just assume it is. So the Writers Guild of America, if you're what's called a guild signatory, your production company that's going to make that movie has to become a guild signatory, which means you can't make a Writers Guild movie for $1 million. You just can't. It'd have to be more. But let's just say it could be. So what happens is the writer, so if you're, I'm not doing a good job because it's late at night. And to be honest, I've been drinking. So here's the thing. The reason that the Writers Guild of America is going to go on strike is because what happens is if a writer writes a script for a movie, like say, call it Smile, whatever, for $25,000, and the movie gets made and they should get a sliding scale, they get paid more. So they make Smile for $17 million and it grosses $200 million. What the Writers Guild will make sure, and this is very an oversimplification, is they make sure you get residuals. When you get to a certain, if you get what you negotiate, not what you deserve, based on performance level, you'll get more money. So say they were going to make Smile for $1 million, and you got paid $25,000, and then they made it for $10 million. Then you might get 2.5, what is that? That $250,000. Depending, it's a sliding scale. And then if the movie makes a certain amount of money, you get more. They're your residuals. When it goes to home video or when it goes to TV, you make more money. The problem is now that the writers are not getting what they deserve across ancillary markets. So it's a big, long process, but a good question. I should do a whole show on that, and I can have David Goodman, who's been on my channel, is the president of the WGA. That's actually a good idea. I should have him. I should have him come on the show. Let's see. Wow, I keep going back up. Captain Robert April, a long time. One day we're going to stream, I promise. Strange New Worlds needs sanctions for ripping off Balance of Terror. Man, terrible. Everything wrong with modern Star Trek is exemplified. If you want to know why I hate modern Star Trek so much, the last episode of Strange New Worlds Season 1 is a retelling of Balance of Terror. It makes no sense. Balance of Terror is one of the greatest Star Trek episodes ever. In the first season, introduces the Romulans. Go watch Balance of Terror and then watch the final episode of Strange New Worlds Season 1. Everything wrong with modern Star Trek is exemplified in that episode. But I'll tell you what's really horribly egregious. One of the great things about the original Balance of Terror is for the very first time, part of that episode, we get to see onto the Romulan ship. We get to see the Romulan commander, played by Mark Leonard, who went on to play Spock's father, Sarek, in subsequent episodes of Star Trek and the movies. He plays a Romulan commander, and we see the relationship he has with his best friend and first officer, his Centurion. And we see their relationship. And one of the great things in all of Star Trek is this philosophical discussion where the Romulans, part of their code, part of their civilization is like, look, if we find a civilization that's weaker than we are, it's our duty to go after them. That's what we do. That's part of our code. And so the Romulans have been probing Federation defenses in this episode, and they find a weakness. And the Centurion's like, well, that's what we're supposed to do. And Mark Leonard says, Romulan commander's like, but must it always be so? Do we always have to do this? My gift to the homeland, another war. And he knows if he goes back home and says the Federation's weak, they're going to come en masse and start a war. But what's great is that relationship between those two characters. They have a really interesting philosophical debate about what's important. In that Strange New Worlds episode, they completely ruin that relationship because the people that wrote that episode had no clue what they were watching. It was really awful. And I hated it. I thought it was just honestly terrible because the people that are writing modern Star Trek do not know how to write Star Trek. The reason I love Picard season 3 so much is because it speaks to me as somebody who's getting older. It has genuine, real human emotion, great character interaction with real people that have gotten older, and where do they go in their lives? I think it's important. I think it's great. Maria Espino says, people tend to get big britches when they hide behind a mask. I'm just saying. Yeah, I know. You'd hope so, but I don't believe in wearing masks. I believe if you want to be taken seriously and you want people to believe in you, you have to look them in the eye. Otherwise, who's going to believe you? Thomas Logan, by the way, I shipped out a box to you, buddy. I dug your Starfleet Academy idea for a Trek film. If tomorrow Lucasfilm gave you $100 million in total freedom story-wise, what is your Star Wars movie? That's an interesting question. If I was given $100 million... Okay, here's the thing. The original Star Wars is about a farm boy, a truck driver. Han Solo, the Millennium Falcon is an 18-wheeler. He's Smokey from Smokey and the Bandit. He's Burt Reynolds. He's a bootlegger. And you've got a farmer, and then you got a veteran of foreign wars. The thing about Star Wars is people don't realize this, but Star Wars is about the everymen, these three everymen and their manservants, R2 and 3PO. They get caught up in this amazing adventure. When you go to the prequel trilogy, it's all about the highfalutin aristocracy. Who gives a fuck? We don't know about them. We don't know about the Jedi. We want the everyman. If I was able to make a Star Wars movie, if someone said to me, okay, Rob, you can do anything you want. I don't know exactly, being put on the spot, what it would be about, but I'll tell you what my characters, where I would start. It would be about a couple of guys or a girl and a guy or whatever, normal people from the Star Wars universe that had no connection to the Jedi. I'm a moisture farmer. I don't know what they would be, but they would be normal people, and Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Bonnie and Clyde, whatever. Maybe it's a bad example. They would get caught up in galactic politics. They get swept up in some event. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. They ended up going on the run. They ended up having to become heroes the way Luke and Han and Chewbacca and R2 and 3PO did. Because Star Wars at its core, and I honestly believe this, the problem with Star Wars is Star Wars was about the everyman becoming extraordinary. And now everybody in Star Wars is, I'm a Mandalorian, I'm a Jedi. Who cares? We don't know who those people are. We love Luke because he could become a Jedi. All of us could become a Jedi. But Luke was just a dude, just a farm boy. And Han Solo was like, you never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run. I mean, it's like he was just a dude. He was like an 18-wheeler. He was running moonshine, even though he was smuggling spice. And that was the key to the original Star Wars trilogy, is that these were ordinary people caught up in extraordinary events. And to me, that was always what Star Wars was about. Not anymore. Now it's all about all the Imperial officers and this, that, and the other thing, or somebody who's going to become a rebel leader. As much as I loved Andor, and I did love Andor, give me a story about some schleprock who has no idea, that he's going to buy a droid that has Princess Leia's recording in it. I wonder if he means old Ben. The wizard's just a crazy old man. Come on. That's what made Star Wars magical. We, all of us, were Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm not Liam Neeson, and I'm not Ewan McGregor. I was never going to be a Jedi. But you might be Luke Skywalker, and that's why Star Wars ruled. Ivers Santatu, Ivor Santatou says, what is the difference between the Palme d'Or and the Best Picture? Like what made Forrest Gump win Oscars and Pulp Fiction win the Palme d'Or? Taxi Driver versus Rocky in 1976. Dances with Wolves versus Wild at Heart in 1990. Ooh, great question. That's a great question. Okay. I think what you've just hit upon is, again, people are going to probably disagree with me if I say this, but the French civilization, the French culture, is one of the great cultures of the world where art reigns supreme. Art in every facet: music, movies, cuisine, fashion. And to me, art is the ultimate example of culture of human endeavor. And the French love art, but they're not populist. The French love, they're a little bit more highfalutin. If you read André Bazin and you read his theories about what cinema is, or you go back and read Cahiers du Cinéma, which is probably the greatest film journal in the world, and you go back and you read Godard and Truffaut's work, and then they became directors themselves. The French were all about art. And you're asking about the difference between the Palme d'Or is, in a nutshell, it has more pretensions, not pretentious, but pretensions about the truths. Like our best pictures traditionally, not lately, but traditionally, Rocky and Forrest Gump, are very much feel-good stories. The underdog, they're very American. Whereas Palme d'Or winners are more, they're more artistic. They're more about the universal human truths about life. Whereas we love our underdog stories, or we love our meat and potatoes, rah, sometimes jingoistic, sometimes sentimental. Whereas the French are all about the pretensions of the art form. So I would say that, for instance, Rocky and Forrest Gump, those are great high school movies, but Pulp Fiction's a college graduate level movie, if that makes any sense, if you buy into that. That's what I would say. George the Giant Slayer, still supporting the channel. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. Is there any chance the success of Picard Season 3 with the fandom could spur a green lighting of another season? Thank you for the Odo answer. I miss him. I wish he was in it. He's no longer with us. I wish he was too, but he was mentioned there. No, here's the thing. The problem is it comes down to who's watching it. We that exist in the ecosystem of YouTube's fandom does not represent the world at large. And while we're a very passionate group of people, we are a small group of people. We think, it's hard outside of our echo chamber that we who watch YouTube and watch pundits, we're here, but the rest of the world's here. And Picard might have the success of this, but it doesn't have the success of the rest of the world. And the only way that anyone's going to greenlit something, that's why, like Taylor Sheridan, and when he gets 18 million views on his Yellowstone spinoff, well, that's something to celebrate. Star Trek Picard, I don't know what the numbers are. I haven't seen numbers, but you go from like 18 million down to 2 or 3 million with Picard. It's hard to say. We'll see. I know that everyone says they greenlit Lower Decks and they greenlit Strange New Worlds Season 3. They were already greenlit. They just weren't officially announced. All the money has already been spent. The writer's room has been spent. When you're working in animation, I edited 3 seasons of the Netflix series Dota Dragon's Blood. It was ordered as a 3-season animated show. We were already a year ahead of where we were broadcast-wise, but we couldn't say it. And it was an animated show, so you'd had to wait. You'd send your animatics, and I would finish editing and send them to Korea and wait 6 months to get the animation to come back to finish the post-production sound. So there's nothing when people are like, oh, Star Trek Picard or Star Trek Stranger Worlds got renewed. It was already renewed. They just hadn't announced it. So make no mistake. And the reason it was already announced is because they've designed it to be a 3-season show. If it has monumental ratings, which it has not, if it was a big, gigantic success, they might go 4 or 5 seasons, but it won't. It's probably going to be done after 3. I don't know that for a fact. I would just assume, because the numbers they're doing are not what they hoped. Star Trek, to be honest, has not been a lucrative franchise for a long time. It's an earner, but it's not a breakout. It's not Taylor Sheridan. It's not a Yellowstone franchise. Jessica Tanner says, Lawrence of Arabia shows why the Arabs do not trust the Brits and the French. Thought they were getting freedom, got a new ruler. Great cinematography, which is why it's the movie it is. Because it deals with those basic human truths of, can you believe? Maria Espino says, oh my God, 7 was amazing, Rob. What a suspense thriller. And that ending, wow. Well, that was one of the reasons, Maria, that it didn't get made. They kept trying to change the ending, where Gwyneth Paltrow's head was not in a box. Spoiler alert. It did come out in 1995. It's almost 30 years old, so I don't think anyone who wants to see 7, it's still a fantastic film. It's all about style. Fincher coming off of the debacle that Alien 3 was. That was his first feature after Alien 3. And years later, and he knocked it out of the park. But Jessica, I think you're right. I think that Lawrence of Arabia example is a great example of what great art is. Good stuff. And the thing is, it has those truths, uncomfortable though they may be. Joe Panora says, do we have to wait till the last episode to learn where Jack's visions come from? I hope he's not a changeling. Where, Joe? What? Come on, man. I'm not going to tell you anything. Did you like that, though? I thought it was pretty good. That's pretty good. It kept a good straight face. Charles Andre Becerra. To be honest, I've been drinking. Ha, ha, ha. L'chaim, Rob. Well, you know what? Should I? Hang on a second. If you've been drinking, hang on. As you've noticed, I really have not taken a swig of anything. See, I got some Diet Coke. If because I'm a big lush. Why not? Somebody said, "What highball do I have?" Well, not much. Let's see what I got. The problem is, I have to tell you, you know what I drink, and this is terrible. What I drink mostly is Diet Coke, and I keep winding up with like empty Diet Coke bottles when really. That's only because I used to, what John got me hooked on, Campy got me hooked on, was Zevia, and it's really good because that is a plant-based sweetener. By the way, I was just going to go on this show for like 10 minutes. And now you people, you beautiful imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity, somebody said just keep sending Rob super chats and we'll keep them on forever. I can't thank you enough. You guys, you warm my heart. You warm the cockles of my heart. Oh my God. Sylvain Saint Laurent. Although I asked Elizabeth about, my girlfriend Elizabeth speaks fluent French, and Sylvain is not the right way to say it, but Sylvain Saint Laurent. I think out Laurent part. She said it. First of all, you know what? Let's give it up for French. Okay, French is the best language in the world. I wish I learned to speak it. My God, it is a Romance language, but nothing sounds better than French. But Sylvain says, your intellect and knowledge is my cup of tea. Yes, you are pronouncing my name quite right. As a French Canadian, you are much better than most of my neighbors in Montreal. Well, Sylvain, Saint Laurent, that makes me very happy. Thanks again about your Picard Season 3 cheerleading. You were right to do it. God bless you, sir. You know what? At least somebody doesn't think I'm a paid shill, which I am not. So, Sylvain, thank you so much. And by the way, the support of the channel, thank you. I very much appreciate that. God damn it, because if you know how much, we have 8 puppies, which, by the way, I'll admit it, we bred puppies to, we because interest rates went up, we got a house, we couldn't refinance the loan, so I'm dying. And we had puppies, so we're going to sell them for exorbitant amount of money because they're great puppies. I know it's terrible, but hey. So Charles Andre Becerra, I'm drinking now too. I like that. Legion 0129 says, I noticed HBO got rid of most golden age of Hollywood movies. Do you know why? They brought in so many new movies now with identity politics. I'm a stoic, so I try not to identify as much of anything. Listen, I have to tell you, as many people know who watch this channel, I do a Let's Get Physical Media show. And one of my favorite people in the world is George Feltenstein, who is moved up in the ranks. George Feltenstein is in charge of Warner Archive. They're classic. They have coming out in the next couple weeks. They have these classic films, Neptune's Daughter, Joan Crawford's Flamingo Road, pre-code films. Laurence Olivier directed this film, The Prince and the Showgirl. Marilyn Monroe and Laurence Olivier, and by the way, the transfer of this is stunning, and Confessions of a Nazi Spy, that's actually a pre-World War II film before America got involved with Edward G. Robinson. Here's my thing about identity politics. I think everybody should be able to be who they are. However, don't impose your identity on me or anyone else. I will allow you, whoever you are, whatever you believe, I'm happy to host you here. You be an imagination connoisseur. You choose to do whatever you want. The problem is when you're imposing your identity on everyone else, that's a problem. And I think identity politics is like and it's turning into fascism. If you don't believe what certain people believe or what people want you, what's worse is if you don't believe what we want you to believe, we will come after you. We've seen that before, and it doesn't end well. And I would say this, I want everyone to live and let live. And yeah, but the reason that they're removing certain movies from HBO, and then it's not because of identity politics. It's not. And here's the thing. As I've said many times on this channel, there are people that have not had a voice. There are people that have not been able to speak freely, have not been able to speak openly. And the basis of this particular YouTube channel is I honestly believe, and I say it after every show, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. I want to hear people's stories. Tell me your tale. I want to listen. I want everybody to have a voice. And it's selfish because everyone does have a great story to tell. And I love stories. I love hearing people's stories. Unfortunately, now people are turning their identities into a political cudgel. And it's not good. It isn't good. And I think that what we really want is to have a just society for all. And you can't, I've always said this, you cannot trade one oppression for another. You can't. That isn't equality. That isn't a just civilization. That leads to anarchy. You have to come, everybody needs a voice, but everybody also needs to support everyone's voice. When you decide to say, well, these people finally get their own voice, that doesn't mean you oppress others because these people have been oppressed. That's not the way to go about it. At least that's what I believe. You can't trade one oppression for another. What you have to do is you have to learn to listen to all voices, I think. Ron C. says, hello, Rob. Question. Would you know if the Klingon starship Bird of Prey in Picard Season 3 still has the whale tank or reconstructed back to the original? Do you also have a Cruise 6 scale with dog? Well, I don't have Exo 6 is making a Cruise 6 scale. I do not know if he comes with his Targ, but it's a great looking figure. So X06, the company X06, and go to Facebook, look up Anthony and his page 6 Scale Mafia. He's doing a lot of work for X06. He's the man to talk to. And Nanjin Tam also, look at his page. Their Kruge figure is great. But I would imagine, having not known, that the Klingon bird of prey would be the Klingon bird of prey as it was taken off the floor of San Francisco Harbor, as they explained in Picard Season 3. I think it would have the whale tank, which probably was one of the reasons that it was difficult, because once it was pierced, the whale tank would have, the whole ship would have filled up with water, and it had a tank, and so it was probably a lot harder to blow out the ballast or whatever. But yeah, I would imagine it's there, which is part of the reason it's part of the Fleet Museum, because not only did it travel through time, not only did it have a cloaking device, but it brought back George and Gracie to the 23rd century, which means that, how cool is that? I love that. I believe that that's what it would have done. So I think, yeah. Robert April's been a member for 8 months, and then sends in he says, how's about Tag and Bink, Mr. Boffins? Okay, for those of you who don't know, my good friend Kevin Rubio, who I'm working with, working on an animated series proposal right now, Kevin Rubio, who made the great Star Wars fan film Troops, wrote an incredible series, the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the Star Trek universe, called Tag and Bink. And you can get the Marvel graphic novel, and it's canonical. And Tag and Bink existed in all these different events in the Star Wars series. They were always right outside all the goings on. And it was funny because I had a conversation with Kevin Rubio. I had a conversation with Bryan Singer about the fact that when Mon Mothma says in Return of the Jedi, many Bothans died bringing us this information. Well, what if she meant that instead of many Bothans, meaning Bothans, the race of people that died, what if she was actually talking about a guy named Manny Bothans, a dude? So Kevin wrote it in Tag and Bink that Manny Bothans was a guy, a little person, and they drew him as me. Many Bothans died. That's why she's so sad, because I was her lover, and I practiced the ladies first philosophy, if you know what I'm saying. Get a little cheeks wet, do some work, 45-degree upturn tip of the tongue at the perfect level, knowing what you're doing, knowing exactly where to go, you know, come in from underneath. You know what I mean? It was good. And yeah, so there you go, Captain Robert April. Maria Espino says, if Disney gave me $300 million for Star Wars, I'd 100% do Knights of the Old Republic with Keanu Reeves as Darth Revan and Kate Beckinsale as Bastia Shan. Look, Kate Beckinsale can do no wrong. I mean, I think Kate Beckinsale is I mean, her voice sounds like she's from classic Hollywood. The rest of her is the hottest thing in the world. I mean, I'm with you. That's a great idea. Take my $300 million. I would want to see that. That's a great idea. Why they don't do it? The problem is the people that working at Lucasfilm, they're like, no, what is Knights of the Old Republic? What is that? We don't know what it means. I hate that. All the people in charge of these, look, Hollywood, if you're listening, if you buy an IP, like, hey, Warhammer 40K, you know, there's a lot of books with a lot of lore, and there's a weekly magazine that's being published. You better fucking hire somebody, not just Henry Cavill. Hire an executive staff that all they do is read the fucking lore before you get in on there. Don't make some generic goddamn movie. Make Warhammer 40K could be one of the most lucrative franchises ever if you have people that pay attention. So, Joe Panora says, that was good. Worth a shot. Laugh out loud. Hope so. Maria Espino says, Rob, drop me your email. I think I got it wrong. I don't think you did, but I will. I'll drop you my email. I will do that. Hayden Burke says, Picard Season 3 has united 3 generations of my relatives. Ooh, we love it. Thanks, Rob. You got me into it. Never watched Trek before this. Oh, really? Okay, for those of you who don't know, I'm about to start a new show, a pre-recorded show on here at the Burnettwork called RMB's 10 in 20, meaning TEN in the number 20. And they're going to be 20-minute shows where I tell you my top 10 of all these different things. I'm going to start with Star Trek. So the first episode is going to be RMB's 10 in 20, and it's going to be TOS Season 1. Because everyone always asks me, Rob, how do I decide? There's so much Star Trek. And I'm going to say that it's specifically for people that want to, like, not hardcore, but I'm like, okay, if you want a general overview of what Star Trek is, because there's more than 10 great episodes in the first season, I'm going to be like, okay, here's the 10 you have to watch to know what Star Trek is. It's not definitive. You can delve into it more, but if you want a primer of where to be. So R&B's 10 in 20. And I'm going to do it with all kinds of things. My favorite splatterpunk horror novels of the 80s. You know, my favorite Stephen King novels. My favorite Duran Duran records. Or whatever it's going to be. I'm just going to do R&B's 10 in 20 for no other reason than people keep asking me for stuff. So I'm going to do that. It'll be cool. It'll be fun. A lot of work, but it's going to be fun. Thomas Logan, our man Thomas Logan, says, speaking of David Lean, Nolan recently cited Dr. Zhivago as his inspiration for The Dark Knight Rises. He even hosted screenings of Dr. Zhivago for the cast and crew. I think The Dark Knight Rises is fantastic. It's very underrated. Thomas, I have to say, I really loved The Dark Knight Rises. However, it has massive logistical issues, but I love the way it feels. It feels truly apocalyptic. I mean, there's weird shit about it, like they expect you to believe that the cops are trapped underground for 100 days. And I mean, I go with it, but it has a great feel to it. I am not a Dark Knight Rises apologist. I really like that film. It really has this great apocalyptic feel to it. So interesting comparing it to Dr. Zhivago. Wow. I would like to have seen him speak about that. Zachary Zarvos says, great to see you back, Rob. More nightly Robservations, please. Well, I have to tell you, as far as an impromptu stream goes, this might be one of my favorites I've ever done. I was just going to come on for a few minutes and talk about, rant and rave, but now it's become this whole thing. This has been amazing. Thank you, imagination connoisseurs. You people are amazing. Amazing. Nico C. Hello, Nico C. Oh, how is our friend? Anyway, Nico says, loving Picard, Rob. It eases the sourness of watching the Mandalorian tank. What a nosedive from the first season. It comes across as a Disney ride. I have to tell you, Nico, and everyone else, the Mandalorian is going to drop in 23 minutes. I will watch, but I don't understand. I just, none of that show makes any sense to me. I want it to be great. I don't think there's been a TV show between that and Book of Boba Fett that we want to love these shows so much. And we look at them and we're like, look, when you're getting Last of Us, you're getting House of the Dragon, and you're getting Andor. I have to tell you, you know what I did last night? I watched Rabbit Hole, the new Jack Bauer Power Hour. It was pretty interesting. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I believed all of it, but it was really interesting. It's, of course, got Kiefer Sutherland in it. It's a big conspiracy thriller show. I really liked the first 2 episodes. I was like riveted, going, wow, this is a lot of fun. It was pretty cool. And when you look at Mandalorian, it's like, come on, man. Can we do more? I don't know. It's a bummer. Zachary's, I want it to be better, but we're getting episode 5 tonight, and there's only 3 more. What's the story been? Like to me, I feel like nothing's happened. I don't know. Zachary Zarvos says, I missed you at WonderCon. How was the panel? I did 2 panels there. Pretty great. I enjoyed it. A guy stood up at our Where Did the Great Good Ideas. I have to say, I sat next to Gigi Edgley, and the first time I ever met Gigi Edgley, I want to say it was 8 years ago. Was it 8 years ago? 7 years ago? I was invited. I was the guest of honor at a convention in Fort Collins, Colorado, with Richard Hatch. I want to say it was his last convention appearance before he passed away. and Gigi Edgley and myself. And Gigi Edgley is a gem of a person. She is so positive and so, I think she's a beautiful woman, but her energy is so great. And we all got really hammered at that convention. I didn't realize around Fort Collins, Colorado, there's like 300 distilleries. It's in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains. They took me up where The Shining was written, where Stephen King wrote is it the Standard Hotel? Incredible. Everybody in Fort Collins, all the people I met, wonderful people. Fan-run convention. It was really great. It was one of my favorite conventions I've ever been to. And it was fun because at one point I just walked out of the convention center and was a small convention center, but I was watching families come out. It was so great. It was so uplifting. And hanging out with Gigi Edgley, she's just great. I love her. And I got to sit next to her, and what a delightful woman she is. And she doesn't age. So good for her. You, Gigi Edgley, huge fan. Love you. So nice to see you on that panel. You're great. Anyway, Tom Jr. Jackson says, great stream, Bobby B. Thank you, sir. Well, Tom, it's crazy. Okay, here's a great stream. Wow, amazing. And I think we're all caught up. I think I got everybody's tips. I don't know if I did this. Anonymous says, Rob, love you and love your passion. Season 3 of Picard has restored my love of Star Trek. Thank you for praising the show. I've heard rumors. I think I already did that. Did I do Joe? Hey, Rob, just wanted to say hi. Miss you on John's show. Do you plan on making Robservations? I think I did that too. I guess I've covered everybody. I think I'm going to end this stream. Although Mashby says, finally caught up on John Wick. Looking forward to watching John Wick 4. How is Keanu nearly 60 years old? Man, I don't know. Clean living. But you know what? He's considered one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. Everyone is a huge fan of his. And I have to say, if you think about this. The Matrix, the first Matrix, is 24 years old this year. So he made The Matrix 24 years ago. And he's still rocking it. By all accounts, he's one of the nicest people in Hollywood. I've never actually met him. But, yeah, amazing. What an amazing guy. But anyway, everybody, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to say thank you to everybody who supports this channel via Super Chats, tips, memberships. And remember, if you're a member of the channel, we are having a membership call at 11 o'clock this coming Saturday. That's Pacific Daylight Time. So we have a lot of fun. And I want to thank Tom Jr. Jackson for moderating this impromptu panel that I was just going to come on and speak, randomly talk. But I want to thank all of you. And look, we got Mandalorian dropping in less than 20 minutes. And then we've got Picard Season 3, Episode 7 dropping, which I believe is called Dominion. Episode 7's Dominion, I think. And hey, I think you're all going to love it. In a world where Picard Season 3 has given this old Trekker's soul a jolt of life. Anyway, I think it's good. And on that note, I will say to all of you, remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, I would say, have a better night. Have a better day. Have a better afternoon. Have a better anything. Have a better cocktail. All right. Well, I want to thank all of you. Couldn't do this without you. Listen, I couldn't do this without you. I even haven't been drinking that much. So anyway, thank you all. This has been so much fun. What a cool impromptu stream we did. How much fun was that? So thank you all. And to all, a very good night.